Hello, sweeties. Are you excited to be in class today? Okay, I'm excited to be in class and I'm happy to see you again. How are you all doing? I am Mrs. Olayinka, your food and nutrition teacher. I hope you're good to go. All right, today we'll be looking at food sanitation law in our food and nutrition class. Last week we talked about a very interesting topic. Can anybody remember? What was the topic for last week? Okay, all right, kitchen hygiene and safety. Kitchen hygiene and safety. And we talked about how to be safe in the kitchen to avoid injury and accidents. We talked about the first aid box should be available in kitchen area so that in case of any injury or accident, we can treat the injury before we get to the nearest hospital or call the nearest doctor. And we also said kitchen hygiene has to do with ensuring the food is hygienic or prepared under hygienic condition to avoid contamination, which may also lead to pests getting to the food and then the food getting contaminated and then the person or the one eating the food getting an illness. Okay, so today we'll be looking at food sanitation law. And by way of introduction, I would say food sanitation law prevents contamination in food. Yes. All right. Last week we were talking about food hygiene and we said we want to avoid food contamination. So sanitation law will help us to prevent this contamination in food. The set rules for cleanliness in food production, handling, and distribution, ensuring safety for customers. All right. As long as these laws are in place, the food production, handling, and distribution will be done effectively and in an hygienic way so that it will ensure safety for the consumers. All right. Defining of food sanitation law. We want to define food sanitation law. We say food sanitation laws ensure food is safe from contamination, protecting public health by reducing foodborne illnesses and ensuring hygienic practices in food handling. Yes, food handlers are to ensure that there's reduction in foodborne illnesses that comes through an hygienic way of preparing food. Now, we have key food sanitation laws. We have a lot of them, but we'll be looking at three in this lesson. Now, preventing contaminated food sales. What are the key food sanitation laws? Now, prohibit selling food with harmful substances. That's why we have food sanitation agencies like NAFDAC and several others will be meeting in the course of the lesson. All right, these bodies ensure that they prohibit the selling of food with harmful substances. That's why before food or anything that goes into the body, like drugs, beverages, before they are being sold out, they should be checked to ensure that there are no harmful substances in the food. Then they should ban sale of unfit food for consumption. Yes, as long as the food is not fit for consumption, such food items or beverages or drugs has to be banned. Then they have to ensure that they prevent sales from unsanitary conditions where the food is being prepared. That's kitchen hygiene. In one of our classes, we'll be talking about kitchen hygiene. Where the food ought to be prepared is the kitchen area. All right. So the kitchen area ought to be an hygienic area. So the food sanitation law prevents sales from unsanitary conditions. As long as the agency visits the area where the food is being prepared and find out that the hygienic condition is not satisfactory, then they will ban or they prevent the sales of food items from that area. Now, we have some regulatory agencies. We have some regulatory agencies. We have FDA, they regulate most food products for safety, and we have USDA. They oversee meat production, poultry, and egg safety. All right, so these are some regulatory agencies that we have to ensure that food is safe before consumption. We also have some other ones we'll be meeting in the course of the class. Now, understanding foodborne diseases. We have something we call foodborne diseases, and we get these foodborne diseases from contaminated food, and we have what we call food infection. Food infection. Now, I want to look at foodborne diseases and food infection. Foodborne disease, food infection, and then food poisoning. Food poisoning. We'll look at the three of them, and then we'll move to the next slide. Foodborne diseases are gotten from contaminated food. As long as the food is contaminated, it can be contaminated through exposure. You expose the food unduly, or the food handler has not produced the food under an hygienic condition. So in that case, you may have foodborne diseases from contaminated food. Then we have food poisoning from toxin and chemicals in the food. So when those chemicals in the food become poisonous, then that's what we call food poisoning. And we have food infection from pathogens and pests and bacteria in the food. So as long as we have these three cases, then food is not safe for consumption. Now, poisoning results from consuming toxin or chemicals in contaminated food. At times, the food will be leftover food and it's not well reheated. We have also called reshoff in food and nutrition, but that is not the topic for this class. When we have reshoff, the food should be well reheated so that there will not be any kind of contamination from toxin and chemicals. So when this arises, then it will be leading to food poisoning. And when you have food poisoning, the symptoms are nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea. Now, the moment we have food contaminated, we have vomiting, diarrhea, and then we have nausea. All right, common causes of bacteria. Some common causes are bacteria like staphylococcus and clostridium, or chemical contaminants such as lead or mercury. All right, you can see from the picture there that the food there can result in food poisoning. Now, food infection. It is caused by consuming pathogenic organisms in food. When you consume pathogenic organisms in food, then it leads to food infection. Then we have symptoms like fever, abdominal pain, diarrhea, and then it is different from food poisoning because there's no toxin involved. Now, how do we prevent foodborne diseases? We have personal hygiene and we have safe food handling. Under the personal hygiene, one thing we must do very well as a food handler is to wash our hands regularly. Ensure that you wash your hands before preparing the food and then wash your hands after every dish that has been prepared or after every cleaning that you have done. Then use clean utensils. Don't use dirty utensils in your food preparation. Then avoid touching your face or any other part of your body, your ears, your nose, just any part of your body, avoid touching it. Because as you touch your ears, your nose, your every part of your body, your face, then you are transferring contamination from those parts of your body to the food. So that's under personal hygiene. Then under safe food handling, then we cook food thoroughly, ensure that the food is well cooked before it is presented. Then store food properly. Sometimes when we store food in a way that is not well stored, some of this bacteria would have gotten entrance into the food. And then if care is not taken, it can lead to foodborne diseases. Then reheat leftovers. Yes, I told you about reshoff. When you have reshoff, reheat the food and ensure that it is well heated before eating. Now, the next slide says Personal hygiene rules for food handlers. Like I said, the first thing every food handler should know how to do very well is how to wash their hands thoroughly before preparing any kind of food whatsoever. So before you can start your food preparation in the kitchen, the first missing place is to wash your hands. Keep your fingernails short and clean. Don't keep your fingernails long like claws. Then avoid cooking if you're sick with infection. If you have fever, try as much as possible not to cook. And then some other ones use your nose mask when you're preparing your food in the kitchen. Then use your head cover. Use your head cover as well to avoid air falling off into the food you're preparing. Now we have FSMA. I told you we'll be meeting some other agencies of food regulation as the slide uh, proceeds. Now we have FSMA. What is their role? Food Safety Modernization Act. What does it say? It focuses on preventing food contamination rather than responding to it. It addresses changes in the food system and public health concern by implementing rules to prevent foodborne diseases. Now, aside from FSMA, we have NAFDAC, like I said before, and that's National Agency for Food Drug Administration and Control. They deal with food and drug administration and control. So they ensure that food laws are well followed by food handlers, and they make sure that where food are being prepared, the kitchen area is well sanitized before the food will be approved for consumption. And another one is SON, very common in Nigeria. One of the is the major food agency in Nigeria. It's called Standard Organization of Nigeria. So we can see that all these agencies are interested in ensuring that the food we eat is very, very hygienic or and prepared under hygienic condition. Now we have effective practices for food safety. Now we have proper cooking, and we have the cooking method, and we have the storage tips. Now, for your effective food practices, one thing is we have to do is to cook at the right temperature, then ensure even cooking, cook evenly, not one-sided, and then ensure consistency in your cooking. Then use food thermometers. Now, under the cooling method, cool rapidly, use shallow containers, and then avoid room temperature. Ensure that you use the right temperature, avoid room temperature. And then the storage tips, store at correct temperature, label and date food, and then use right airtight containers. Airtight containers. All right. So we've come to the end of the topic. That says food law, food sanitation law. Now, food sanitation law ensures food ensures safe food handling. They prevent contamination and foodborne diseases, and then safeguard public health. As long as food handlers are taking care of the public, giving them food, that then they must ensure that foodborne diseases is reduced to the barest minimum. All right, I'll be having you guys work on your half-term projects after this class. Like I said, this is week 6, and we have been able to talk about 6 topics for the term. So if this is your half-term project, I would like you to do a research and make sure there is a recent research on food safety incidents. Any food safety incidents that you come across, just do a research on it and then identify laws that have been violated in that food safety research, and then suggest improvement to prevent future issues. Okay? Ensure that this project is well done and done to the best of your knowledge. All right, I will be expecting your project work submitted appropriately. Thank you so much for attending today's class and your attention. I'll see you some other time. Enjoy the rest of the day. Bye.